As we head into the weekend, the rain is returning. The timing of when we can see these showers and possible storms and what to expect coming up.
And do you remember where you were March 12th, 1993? We take a look to the past, to the blizzard of 93 and why it's called the storm of the century.
Plus, we take you around the nation to weather events that have happened and how it's potentially affecting certain fruits.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
So how about that, Tania? Can you believe it? On this day in 93, we had a blizzard.
I'm glad that's not today.
It just goes to show you March can bring some crazy turns in the weather.
It's still winter time. You still can get snow. Hey, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, well, you know, it snowed one time in April here. I remember that. It happened in the late 80s. And also next week, I'm just going to say this, some of the long-range guidance, we're talking about a cool snap.
Cold.
Yeah.
It's a little cold.
Yeah, it looks a little cold.
Yeah, so you may want to start thinking about covering those plants again or still holding off from planting those plants, right?
Well, hold off on the maters right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to tell you more about that cold snap coming up, though. The next big thing here, let's go first off to show you what's happening. We're seeing the risk for storms ramping up back to the west, and that severe weather threat, it starts to develop even further east. You can see they're going into Thursday, so we're going to be talking about some strong to severe storms back to the west of us. I think for us, we could start to see a little bit of rain by Thursday afternoon, but in the meantime, of course, for us, we've enjoyed these nice conditions out there. You can see several sites here on our First Alert Sky Vision. What a lovely view from Lake Tuscaloosa at 73 right now, Birmingham at 71. If you have plans for tonight, incredible weather for this evening, very pleasant temperatures out there. The overnight lows still will tumble down into the 40s there early in the day. Getting ready for a beautiful sunset here from the University of Montevallo. First Alert Sky Vision showing 72 there in Shelby County, 68 at Gadsden, 66 in Coleman, but it turned out to be just a gorgeous day, and we'll see more of this tomorrow, so enjoy it. We'll start out, I mentioned 40s in the morning out the door, so not overly concerned about a major frost. Maybe some of the low spots to the north and some of the outlying areas, we might get a little bit of frost there on the car tops early in the day, but for most of us, looks like we'll be in pretty good shape there early in the day with temperatures, though, still sweater weather down into the 40s as we kick things off, and it looks like for the afternoon tomorrow, we'll have highs in the 70s. But even though it's warmer today, we will never forget, if you were a part of this when this happened, the storm of the century moved across Alabama. It all started on this date back in 1993, 31 years ago. The storm of the century, known as the blizzard of 93. Meteorologists Matt Daniel and Fred Hunter, they look back at that day and tell us why the snowstorm was such an important one in Alabama weather history and why it was called the storm of the century.
It's been 31 years, Fred, since the storm of the century.
That was the year before you were born, right?
I was alive. Okay. I remember it a little bit, but yeah, it was a big storm. It was an impactful storm. In fact, it's probably one of the first storms I remember growing up.
Yeah, our oldest granddaughter was born, and we barely got them home. Ugh. And then, boom, storm of the century, and they were isolated. They lived in Tuscaloosa, and that was one of the few places in all of Tuscaloosa County that didn't lose electricity. So we were really worried about, first grandbaby, and it was a lot of memories there, Matthew. Not all of them good, though.
No, not the greatest memories. I'm sure beforehand, though, it was probably hard to believe we were going to have, let alone snow, but a blizzard. You just don't see blizzards here in the South. But
I was having people ask me, you stop for gas or something, and people were asking you 2-3 days out, what is this storm? Is that going to happen? My goodness, it's almost 80 degrees. What?
Right. Yeah, I mean, these were the temperatures on March 10th, just a few days before the blizzard. We were in the 70s. It was like 80 degrees at one point in Montgomery. So it was feeling like spring, but we had this low form right off the coast of Texas, and this thing just exploded like a bomb, created severe weather in Florida, and then, of course, the wintry weather in parts of the southeast. But you're talking about 10 million people lost power. We had a strong wind and tornado tornado event in Florida and Cuba, derecho. They had storm surge of up to 12 feet. That's something you would see with hurricanes. And they had a lot of water rescues as well, 160. But this is just one of those loops, and I'm sure you will always remember this loop. If you're a meteorologist, you study meteorology, you will always remember this particular view.
And it was one of those rare occurrences, extremely rare, fortunately, where you had the southern branch of the jet stream and the northern branch of the jet stream that collided or crossed. And you had the Gulf moisture combined with the cold air. That just doesn't happen very often, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and look at these, just all these tornadoes. Of course, back then we were using the Vegeta scale, F scale, and saw 0s, 1s, and 2s all across Florida. But of course, the snow, everyone's remembering that. Just so much of it from southern Mississippi all the way up towards the New England states, and just significant all across the south and east. But look at these totals. I actually created this little grid to show you some of those estimates of snow.
Yeah.
Pretty much the entire state saw something.
And was shut down. I mean, literally, the interstates were shut down. No one could go anywhere, and loss of power and all those kinds of things. We kept a fire going in our fireplace for several days.
Yeah, I was in Georgia at the time, and my dad worked at the post office. So I remember my mom, we were all worried about Dad because whether it's, they say rain, snow, sleet, or hail, doesn't matter. They're going to be out delivering the mail.
Mail must go through.
Yeah, I don't think he actually worked that day. It was so bad that pretty much shut everything down. But of course, behind that blizzard, of course, usually we get snow, not necessarily wind. We had the wind as well, and that created the visibility of nothing. And that's why it was called a blizzard. But look at those temperatures afterwards. Woo, 2 degrees in Birmingham.
One of the few times I can remember you hear the phenomenon of thunder snow, which is very rare, but I remember thunder snow occurring during that blizzard.
Yep, and what a storm right there. So we always say it can always snow in March. This is the storm we think of when we say it's possible.
You point to, for example.
Exactly.
Yeah, remember that Friday like it was yesterday. It just all unfolded going into the weekend. And you heard Matt talk about bomb cyclone, and that's a term that we hear often these days with a low pressure system. But where that term really originates from was actually from a storm like this. When you get these storms that just strengthen so quickly, kind of like when you watch those pressure levels drop in an intensifying hurricane, as that happens, we often refer to that as a deepening bomb cyclone. But it was incredible because we had at that time, I remember doing a study on this storm in Centerville. We had temperatures around 29, while in Florida it's in the 70s. You got a tornado outbreak happening, and just always know when you have big temperature discontinuities like that and over a short distance, that's what really drives these systems to intensify. But certainly a generational event. Tania, I'll never forget it. I tell you what, we had lightning, we had thunder all night, blowing snow, winds gusting over 20 miles per hour, even hurricane force winds off the coast, and it seemed like a week without power. But finally the lights were back on. But this actually joins some other noteworthy systems. You think of the ice storm in 1982, snowpocalypse, but what a system.
Yeah, absolutely, Wes. I can guarantee you guys we're not seeing any snow this weekend. So let's talk about the rain, because even though it's not quite snowing here, we will see more rainy days ahead of us. So I have this graphic to show you potential rainfall amounts 7 days out from now. We can see about 2 inches of rainfall in some spots, especially our western counties like Tuscaloosa, Pickens, down to Sumter, Greene, even Hale County, Perry County, around 2.5 inches of rainfall. Now this is just an estimate, but we will have rain in our forecast, looking more likely Friday, maybe some breaks on Saturday, but still some rain possible, and then more rain and possible thunderstorms on Sunday. And I didn't mention thunderstorms on Friday, but there's a possibility to see some storms on Friday as well, and maybe even some strong storms. We're still trying to fine-tune that severe chance. But I know some of you guys are on spring break or maybe heading to the beach for spring break. So let's talk about that beach forecast and what to expect over the next couple of days. So for tomorrow, there is a slight chance of rain, some cloudy skies. But I hate to say it, this weekend may not be the best time at the beach. I mean, you still enjoy it. The temperature is in the 70s, but there will be some rain around, especially by Sunday. Looks like rain will be more likely for the end of the weekend. That's St. Patrick's Day. But Monday and Tuesday of next week, starting to see some improvements in terms of that wet weather. A little bit drier, more sunshine, but those temperatures are a little bit cooler. Now, if you're heading out to the beach, make sure you're always checking in with those rip current forecasts and the water might be a little cold, so just keep that in mind as well. You may not enjoy the water as much, but in 30 seconds, we actually take a look at your forecast here at home, as well as take you across the nation to some wild weather events. We'll be right back with more First Alert Weather Extra. Welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Tania Michelle here. Okay, guys, we've been talking about a little bit of a warmer trend. I know we were just talking about cold temperatures, but let's talk about the warmth. We're a little bit warmer today than we were yesterday, about 10 degrees warmer this time today than this time yesterday. I mean, 11 degrees warmer in Winston County, 10 degrees warmer in Etowah County, 7 down in Bibb, and 6 degrees warmer in Jefferson County. We're going to continue to see that warming trend and maybe some highs on Thursday in the 80s. I know, somebody get me a pool to swim in. But let's talk about across the country. Heavy rain bringing flooding to New Jersey over the weekend, with the issues continuing into yesterday with gusty winds. A 70-foot tree crashed down into this house you see on video, causing damage. The flooding also damaging basements and closing roads. Flood warnings remain in place along portions of several rivers through tomorrow morning. And in South Carolina, also receiving heavy rain over the weekend. Take a look at this scene. Oh my goodness, this is in Charleston on Sunday, where major flooding led to closures of dozens of streets, with conditions only getting worse during the high tide. Some vehicles got stuck after their engines flooded. And in California, the harsh weather and rainfall making a big impact on strawberry farms. Not the strawberries. Fox Zara Barker has more on that.
The variety we grow is called Albion. It's a very old variety, but it's sweeter than the new varieties.
They're pretty and sweet, but not quite ready to eat.
We'll never make up for that lost time.
Jimmy Ukigawa, the third-generation owner of Carlsbad Strawberry Company, says this year's harsh winter and rain hurt strawberry production.
From flower to ripe fruit is normally about 4 to 5 weeks. But at this stage, the strawberries are very delicate. And if we get a big storm or a big raindrop hits it, we can get a misshapen strawberry like this one. This is not a #1 strawberry, so we would throw it in with the #2s or pick it for juice.
He says the abnormal amount of rain cut their strawberry harvest down from 8 months to just 5.
So we lost out on most of our January production and our February production, so we're really far behind this year.
Because of the recent storms, the Carlsbad Strawberry Company says they've lost out on about 80 boxes of strawberries per acre. And with 20 acres of farming, that's a loss of about 160,000 pounds of strawberries.
An inch of rain will cause anything turning red to go bad. So really, we had the same amount of labor. We were just having to pick it off and throw it away. So we just had no income because we weren't able to sell anything. So it made it really rough.
And just north in Oceanside, it's a similar story.
While we do have some ripe strawberries, they're few and far between, so we actually had to postpone this year's season.
Michelle Castellano's family has been farming since 1925 and growing strawberries for the public to harvest since 2020.
This field that we're standing in is our strawberry U-pick field.
But this year, they also have to delay their opening.
This plant right here, we've got some little babies that haven't turned red yet, and what's happened for the last couple of weeks is they've slowed down. So during a U-pick season, we would see a whole plant like that full of red strawberries like this, whereas those are still white and growing. They need a couple of more weeks.
I have a feeling we're about to get into good weather and it'll straighten out some. So we'll make the most of it, and that's farming.
Both the Milano Farm Stand in Oceanside and Carlsbad Strawberry Company are hoping to reopen their U-pick strawberry fields in the coming weeks. But here in Carlsbad, the Carlsbad Strawberry Company just opened up their stand, so you can come by and pick up some of the strawberries that they are able to harvest until they reopen their strawberry fields in the coming weeks. Reporting in Carlsbad, I'm Zara Barker.
Man, strawberries don't sound bad right now, but still ahead on First Alert Weather Extra, we're talking a little bit more about the cold that we could see next week. And we already talked about the warmth on Thursday, but now Wes is going to show you when we can see the return of rain and storms, and I take you beyond the 7-day. We'll be right back.
And welcome back into First Alert Weather Extra as we look from our First Alert tower camera here in Birmingham. Meteorologist Tania Michelle is panning the camera. We'll go back to the west there. You can see that. Look at that sunset view there with some of those clouds. 71 degrees right there. We have calm conditions, but what a view, and a lovely view from Nectar. And notice, see a lot of blooms out there, especially those Bradford pear trees. I'm seeing a lot of those blooms around as well. And with all the blooms happening, of course, pollen levels are ramping up. So if you've had the sniffles here lately, well, it's the tree pollen and the grass pollen. That's been a big factor, and that's going to stay in the high category through Thursday. Medium category Friday. We get some rain in, hopefully help to knock down those levels. But again, that's going to be a big story in there Saturday and Sunday. Not looking forward to all that pollen being on all the patio furniture, but that's certainly coming. We know it as we head on into the mid to late portion of March. So we have spring on the way next week, and we're going to see some more of these spring showers coming up here. A chance of rain coming back by Thursday afternoon. Notice we stay very dry, not as cold tonight, but you'll still need the long sleeves early in the day tomorrow. We might see a little bit of frost on some of the car tops, our far northern areas, but not a widespread impact there. We will stay dry during the day tomorrow. Again, a big warm up. We'll see highs around 75 tomorrow. We're going to have quite the warm up. The temperatures during the day have been running a little bit warmer than the models suggest, and by Thursday morning we'll see 50s. Dry Thursday morning. We'll stop it right here. Thursday afternoon and evening. you can see the possibility of a shower or thunderstorm, so that chance is going to come back. So giving you the first alert, you'll want to check the weather app there late on Thursday, as we could see some rain. But the next big thing is more widespread rainfall impacts happen on Friday as a cold front approaches. And there's a chance that we could see a strong storm in here, but it looks like we're going to see this kind of weakening as it moves towards the south. More rainfall dominant there as that makes its way in here during the day Friday. We still see the possibility of some breaks this weekend. The way it looks today, it looks like Saturday during the day we might catch a break, but then the rain comes back Saturday night. But you know, it's still early in the week, so check in for updates just in case this changes. I know we're trying to make big plans here for Saturday, but it looks like Saturday now during the day we catch some breaks, and then notice by Sunday it comes back. Another chance of rain, and probably be Monday before we get this out of here. Also, I want to point out this is the time of year as each day the sun's rays are more direct. Sunburn becomes a big factor. That UV index is starting to ramp up. Notice up to around a 7 there for Thursday. So do remember sunscreen, sun protection here as we head into the mid to late portion of March. We've got St. Patrick's Day coming up. Again, a nice warm day tomorrow. You can see there Sunday 69. And 70% chance for rain. Spring officially arrives on Tuesday, but as that happens, we'll have a low near 33 degrees next Tuesday morning. So we're going to have some colder air that comes in behind that rain chance this weekend. So be ready for another threat for frost and freezing temperatures around the middle of next week. So giving you that first alert. Also want to mention that tonight, when the weather's nice like this, we always like to share the space station flyover time. So some great sky watching weather tonight. Notice 7:51 coming up. If you look to the south-southwest, the International Space Station flyover is going to be visible for 5 minutes tonight. So we should have some great viewing. I think the clouds break up tomorrow, 8:39 p.m. Another great opportunity appearing to the west, visible for about 4 minutes. I think Thursday we're going to see some more clouds in the mix, of course, with those rain chances back on the increase. But this comes as 4 astronauts are actually safely back on Earth after spending 6 months aboard the International Space Station. They splashed down in the Dragon spacecraft just off the coast of Pensacola. That flight path and that re-entry, it wasn't too far from our area earlier this morning. The astronauts on board are from Russia, Europe, Japan, and the United States. And as we look ahead and go beyond the 7-day forecast, we go to meteorologist Tania. Michelle and Tania, we're looking at the First Alert weather calendar, and it seems like this happens every season. It just seems like every time I mention spring arrives, the temperatures fall.
What is the coincidence?
Yeah.
I'm like, can we get it right, Alabama?
And we got to get out of this pattern, this Friday rain chance.
Same pattern.
Yeah.
We've got the cold snaps that keep trying to stay around. Like, no, we want spring to come, right? Okay, so here's that First Alert weather calendar. I'm going to break this down for you guys. We're staying dry for a majority of your rest of your work week, but we do have rain returning for us by Thursday night. It looks like the evening time we start to see our first look at some showers. And then by Friday, we have the chance for some rain and even possible thunderstorms. Looking at rain early Saturday morning, but majority of Saturday is shaping up to be on the drier side as of right now. So keep checking in for forecast updates because we're still several days out, so that still can possibly change. But Sunday, I do think we have a greater chance to see more rain and thunderstorms than we will on Saturday. Looking ahead to next week, we bring in, also happy St. Patrick's Day. It looks like a little wet weather is going to be around for you if you have any plans. By March 18th, it looks like some rain Monday morning as we start next week, and then we bring in spring with dry conditions. That's great, but a little bit colder. So we're going to see a freeze threat possible. We're looking at temperatures right now in the lower 30s, and then we have another rain and storm chance by late next week, Thursday and Friday. So that's a look at that First Alert weather calendar. What does that mean for us across the United States? Our 8 to 14-day rainfall outlook between March 20th through the 26th shows above average rainfall for us here at home. And for those temperatures for March 20th through the 26th, majority of the United States is looking at near average, but here at home, looks like we can see below average temperatures. And notice that our average high at this time of the year is right around 66 degrees, and our average low is around 44 degrees. So that's a look beyond the 7-day, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with more First Alert Weather Extra. We'll see you right after the break.